It is so nice to see you, my goodness gracious.
Good to see you, Taylor.
Thank you, my friend. In unintelligible syllables. Stature, relax your left foot, your right hand. Louder. 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 Great.
The bottom line is, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I stuttered. Not a little bit, but a lot. Where it was uncomfortable for myself, it was uncomfortable for everyone in the room.
Wide open, I was, we talked about it, and we went to figure out how come we weren't winning.
I look back on some of those interviews now, just horrendous. Like, it's embarrassing to watch that.
In 2013, one rider dominated both motocross and supercross. His name is Ryan Villapoto.
From NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to the host of NFL Game Day to high-profile athletes, actors, and actresses, author Samuel Joseph has been training clients to improve their vocal power for over 40 years.
In 5, the same sentence. 3, eyes tell the story. 2, the mastery is in the subtlety. Over the years that he was at the top of his sport, he kept refining week to week, year to year, race to race, his craft. I simply apply the same principles. It's not what somebody thinks about us. It's what we claim for ourselves to be true.
This is earlier today. Wilson just gets into the back of him as Tanner was going a double single. Both riders go down.
He convinced me to think about what sort of work ethic, what was the process when you were a racer. I want to be the best color analyst that Supercross has ever had. We're not curing cancer here. We're just calling dirt bike races. We're having a good time. But there's a responsibility to the industry, to everyone in the pits, to the riders.
Emig, flawless. It is Jeff Emig.
In our previous episode of Supercross Behind the Dream, Dean Wilson, Ryan Dungey, and Will Hahn all spent months preparing for the start of the 2014 Supercross season and failed to meet their goals at Round 1 in Anaheim and Round 2 in Phoenix.
I don't know what to do. Hey, let's keep trying, bud. I'm behind you 100%. It's not over.
The only way you're going to be a future 450 rider is be successful in Supercross. He has to win.
As the series returns to Anaheim and then moves on to Oakland, Jake Weimer is hoping to save his position on the Sports Elite team, while Chad Reed, Jason Anderson, and Cole Seeley each set out to become the first private team in history to win a Supercross championship.
There is an element of danger to Supercross at the highest level. Maybe we don't go as fast as NASCAR. We also don't have roll cages. That is an extreme situation.
He's got to do that for the win in the main event. Yeah. He's got to have that type of mentality.
It's performance related. You're pushing the limits. When it comes to racing, Supercross is at the pinnacle of it.
Jeff Emig is among 20 riders who have won a Premier Supercross championship in the 40-year history of the sport, and was the only rider to win a title during the prime of Jeremy McGrath.
I'll tell you, the fans are all out of their seats with good reason. Emig leading Jeremy McGrath in the final lap.
While fitness and dedication have always been necessary to succeed in Supercross, Emig witnessed the largest transformation in the type of public image and preparation needed to be successful in the sport.
It's changed a lot since '96. When I worked for Emig, I wouldn't say that he partied all the time, but after the race, if he'd do well, we'd go out, have some drinks or whatever, and then he would have a run in the morning, little sweat out the alcohol run. We'd joke that that would keep his week from the guilt. Everybody would think that Emig just partied all the time, but he actually did train.
Back in August of 1999, I was just not focused on what I should have been focused on. It all came to a head. Got in trouble in Lake Havasu, got arrested. Consequently, Kawasaki fires me. Contract terminated. And I remember the lowest point being having to call my dad and tell him, you know what? Here's what's happened. Kawasaki just fired me. That's the day the music died. The whole industry changed. The party is officially over. Carmichael came along and said, we're going to make this thing a professional athlete sport.
In 2000, Ricky Carmichael hired former professional cyclist Alden Baker as his trainer. In 2001, he dominated the Supercross championship by beating Jeremy McGrath 15 out of 17 rounds.
Ricky Carmichael taking another chance by the bar. Carmichael takes the checkers for the second straight time.
Carmichael would go on to win the Supercross championship 4 out of the next 5 years. And the amount of preparation necessary to succeed in the sport has never been the same.
Turning pro at 18, it makes you grow up faster than you want to. Normally you go to college, you get all your partying out of the way. Riding, you skip all that. You gotta be a world-class athlete. You gotta train every day and work hard.
When I was 17, my parents actually moved back home to New Mexico, and I was just living by myself and just having fun. I knew I was supposed to train. I knew it would benefit me, but to be a podium guy, I thought I could pull it off. I look at it completely different after going through all those hard times the first year. When you're not doing how you want to do, and you see guys that you've grown up with racing, and you're battling with them, and they're just waxing you. Like you're not even in the same league as them. It was a wake-up call for sure.
It took 250 class veterans Jason Anderson and Cole Seeley longer than most elite riders to adapt to the structure and commitment necessary to compete for a title. But in the first 2 rounds of the 2014 season, they have finished first and second and have placed a 15 to 20 second gap on the rest of the field.
You can tell these two teams, these riders have done the work. They look comfortable. They can do whatever they want on the track.
Supercross, for me, it comes natural just because I have a really big BMX background. To be successful on a BMX bike, you have to be very fit and you have to be very smooth. And BMX bikes don't have any suspension. There's no room for error.
Well, I don't think you breathe the entire time.
Once I went pro in Supercross, I had all this natural talent, but I didn't have anything beyond that. Didn't have any endurance. I didn't have any strength. I got linked up with a trainer, Charles Dow. Helped me through a lot and got me into some good shape. As soon as I started putting in the work, I started seeing the results.
I definitely think my talent on a dirt bike is as good or better than any guy that I race with. I just think preparation-wise, it wasn't there.
I spoke with Jeff Ward earlier, too, about Anderson, and he said the first thing that we worked on was just brute strength, actual physical strength.
I didn't come into this year expecting anything less than the championship. KTM won the West Coast Championship last year, and I'm on that bike. So there's no reason I can't be the guy.
Started out on bicycles. He was little. So little.
3 years old.
3 years old. He's always been on 2 wheels. Every picture I have, he's on 2 wheels.
I bought him a bicycle when he was like 2 and a motorcycle when he was like 2.
This is just a little circle track they used to ride around and around and around.
Like Alessi, Jeff Alessi, and Cole.
His first not hand-me-down.
His first new motorcycle. He never really got serious till he was like 6 or 7. When he was little, we won everything. We won like 28 championships. And then when he got to the 80s and stuff, he wasn't as aggressive. He kind of stepped back. And we'd already had help from Suzuki, and they're asking me, Jeff, why isn't he winning? So you kind of get put in a spot where you put pressure on him once they get good. I quit putting pressure for a little while, and then he quit doing well.
I was always pretty aware of the situation I was in. We're going on these long road trips. We're spending money on hotels, gas, entries, everything. Pay the mortgage or go racing.
My mom would basically work her butt off. My dad would work his butt off just to get him to the races on the East Coast, and just felt it was easier for me to do something that wasn't as expensive.
We didn't want him to feel that way, that it was tough.
The last time we went to Lauderdale, it was $1,800 in gas. I mean, just gas bill.
As an amateur racer, the most important years to win national titles are when you are 16 and 17 years old, as your results will often determine if you are signed by a professional Supercross race team. Cole Seeley was a 4th to 8th place rider in his late teens and had no professional racing contract at 17 years old.
I didn't like seeing my parents, put all the money into it and it's coming out of their pocket. When I turned 17, I actually quit. Not winning and having that guilt, it's hard to keep racing with that. Went back to school, got a job. Probably about 6 months later, one of my best friends, Lance Corey, he pulled me out and was like, dude, you got too much talent. You can't waste this. He brought me along with some free riding stuff and went on some filming trips. Took me out when I was in my darker days, I guess. Made it fun for me again. Re-amped myself for racing. I wanted to race again, but I wanted to do it for me this time.
Here comes Seeley trying to work that inside, cuts across the track. We've got a new leader. Seeley is out in front of Anaheim.
Coming back to racing, I think it was probably the best decision I ever made. My friend Lance, looking back now, it's like, dang, if he wouldn't have called me up and wouldn't have pushed me so hard to get back into racing, you know, I would not be here today.
And Anderson's going to take advantage, and so Seeley, and you got a new leader.
Cole actually sat me down and said, Dad, you know, I'm thinking about doing this again, but if we do it again, I want you to be, you know, this is for me. And I promised him, and I don't say a word.
Now in his 6th year as a pro, Seeley is 6 points out of the 250 Supercross Championship points lead after 2 races. He has led 25 out of 30 laps this season, but has not been able to overcome Jason Anderson so far.
Jason and I, we do have a pretty similar background. Both of our teams, too. The sport, and especially in the 250 class, has been so dominated by the Monster Energy Kawasaki team or the Geico Honda team. And we're on 2 satellite teams that aren't expected to win.
No privateer team has ever won the championship. It's that challenge that drives you. I mean, for us to win the championship is like the ultimate goal.
With the success of Davey Millsaps in the Premier 450 class last year and Jason Anderson in the 250 class this year, Bobby Hewitt is quickly becoming the most successful private team owner in the history of the sport. In Supercross, factory teams receiving their financial support entirely from motorcycle manufacturers and corporations have always dominated private teams, which rely on private funding and sponsorship.
You buy your bikes, you buy your parts, you pay your riders. Jason's salary I pay for. You're building something that's your own. I mean, you're heavily invested into it.
The most difficult business decision Hewitt has faced in the last 3 months came when Millsaps partially tore his ACL a month before the start of the Supercross season. Bobby was receiving pressure from his sponsors to put Davey on the track at round 1 because of the high amount of exposure that the opening race receives.
An enormous amount of pressure from outside. And my reply to everybody is, if we win the Lights Championship and Davey comes back and does the last 6, 8, 10 rounds, is that the success that you're looking for to justify your investment into the program? Across the board, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you do that, you're great. You're our hero again. I said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited about it. Because I got a racehorse in Jason, and where y'all been questioning him all this time, I haven't wavered from that, and I'm telling you, he's going to win a championship. Jason, this is his 4th year. You know, he struggled. And I can vividly remember the conversation with the manufacturer saying, you need to cut him loose. He doesn't have it. And I wouldn't do it. I believed in him when I signed him. I still believe in him. And I'm not going to tuck my tail and run.
Mistake by Seeley. Here comes Anderson. And Anderson is going to yank the rug out from underneath Seeley 2 weeks in a row.
At the first 2 rounds of the 2014 season, Anderson has won both races by making a pass on Cole Seeley in the final lap.
Everybody's asking him these questions. On track walk at Phoenix, it was what happened on the last lap.
I don't know if Seeley trains harder or not as hard as me, but whatever gets him ready to battle with me for 15 laps, he's doing it. If I'm close to him, I'm going to do whatever it takes to pass him.
I've had game plans in past years and never seemed to work. Trying to look at the big picture, trying to be consistent, all this stuff. But my plan now is show up at the race and do what I'm there to do, and that's win.
After these first races, I do feel like everybody expects it to come down to him and Jason. It's a lot of pressure to lead that many laps and not win.
With round 3 of the 2014 Supercross season in Anaheim approaching, Supercross color analyst Jeff Emig is studying racing statistics and doing voice exercises at his home in Southern California. He struggled with a speech impediment as a young man and now must do vocal exercises for an hour a day in order to maintain his career.
In 2013, Ryan Villapoto won 10 main events on his way to the Monster Energy Supercross Championship. Should have never been an option for me to be spokesperson for a major motorcycle brand, for an apparel company, to be the voice of a sport. When I was little, I couldn't even talk. I would start to stutter, and I couldn't get it out, and Dad going, hey, you know, spit it out. What you know when you stutter, the person on the other side, they're hanging going, they know what you want to say, but you can't get it out, and then it grows and grows and grows, and then you finally get it out. And then you're just like, okay, can we just end this conversation now? I just want to go the other direction.
And Anderson is going to yank the rug out from underneath Seeley 2 weeks in a row.
Well, Jenny, I would keep it simple. What are you feeling?
What happened? How did he get you 2 weeks in a row?
To excel at Supercross, it's all about self-esteem, confidence in yourself.
Let's hear what Cole Seeley has to say this time, Jenny.
And I'm going to tell you a story why maybe I struggled as a rider in those early years. Before the main event, the PA announcer at the stadium would grab the mic, we would get off our bikes, we would take our helmets off, that mic would start to come down the line for me in front of 60,000 people. I'm shaking in my boots because I have to say my name, where I'm from, and all of a sudden, self-esteem, confidence, gone. Right before I'm supposed to have the most confidence.
Going into round 3 in Anaheim, discussions of the 250 class championship revolve around how Cole Seeley will be able to mentally respond to the first 2 races, where Jason Anderson passed him for the win on the final lap. Many believe Cole simply does not have the aggression or will to win.
The hardest part is, and I try not to do it, but going on the computer and seeing negative comments about my little boy. That's the hardest part, and he has to stop me all the time from commenting back.
When he gets past, it's like, in my mind, tell him, come back and put those passes back on him. But you're not on the track, and you're not doing the riding. I was there in Salt Lake when he went down. Kidney failed and the pancreas, and I was there for the hospital, like, seeing him in pain, and it was literally the gnarliest thing I've ever seen. Tubes going in him and not being able to move and seeing all the scrapes down his stomach. That's definitely the part that I don't envy at all.
Once you've tasted success, once you've been on top of the box, once you've had the red plate, it's like a drug. You want more and more of it. You know, Jason rides for no other reason than his passion to ride motorcycles and to be successful on them and to win a championship. If the championship paid $100, he'd fight just as hard. That's rare.
Here we go, the first main event of the night, 250s. Seeley with the whole shot, one rider down.
Anderson gets pushed wide and shuffled back to about 7th.
And Seeley out front.
This may be just the type of start that Seeley needs.
Anderson pushing hard. Is he going to go to the inside here? Oh, yes. And he makes it very clean.
Yeah, look at where his eyes are focused, looking ahead.
Anderson, second place is his.
Anderson started the race in 8th and worked his way up to 2nd by lap 12 of 15. But Seeley's pace out front left him with a comfortable lead by the end of the race.
He's done it. Seeley puts it all together. And finally, the checkered flag is his.
It was a relief going into it leading 25 of 30 laps. I knew I could win. Just to finally cross the finish line first was awesome.
I see myself being exactly how my parents were. They put a lot of their work into what Cole wanted to do. They took a chance and put everything they had into it, and it paid off in the end.
Jason Anderson with the second place finish tonight.
I'll take that all day long.
Well, as long as we're on the box, that's good.
That wasn't bad. I gained valuable points, and I'm still in the points lead. So.
Why?
jumping on the red cross?
No, he did not, because I watched him all the way through it. He rolled the whole thing.
You have to come with me. You leave your backpack too.
I thought it was after you go past the red cross flag, you could then carry on with your race. I didn't see the incident right there because I was going over.
The rule book is very clear in this situation.
Yeah, but Jason does have a point that the red cross flag, there is no other flags after that.
I'm not buying that one, not even a little bit.
A red cross flag indicates that medical personnel are nearby attending to an injured rider, and racers are required to keep their wheels on the ground for safety purposes. Anderson was penalized 2 positions and consequently lost the championship points lead for jumping a section with a red cross flag.
I get it. We're a point behind. We lose the red plate. We get fined 20 grand. I had this talk with Jason. I said, you can look at this one of 2 ways. Either I've lost the red plate, I got dogged and sink into a hole, because this sport is very, very mental. Or you can accept the challenge and define your legacy as, look, you can knock me down, but I'm going to get back up. And not only am I going to get back up, I'm going to knock all of you down.
Coming up next, Chad Reed finished 5th in the Premier 450 class championship last year, only making it to the podium 2 out of 17 rounds. But at 31 years old, he's wagered millions on the belief that he could still win.
Him and his wife, they really came from nothing. He chased a dream, you know, and I think the guy bets on himself.
You get it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, you did it.
I have a few moments that I feel like my dad, and I guess the motorcycle, you know,
yes, brings it out in you.
Yeah, with Tate riding a motorcycle, definitely that echo is there a little bit, and I feel it. It's just a massive commitment for how dangerous it is, and I don't want to just go and waste time and effort for average, you know, and it sounds horrible and it's brutal, but it's dangerous. He's had a crash and screamed and cried, but you know, he got right back.
You're actually worse with that than I am.
Yeah.
He's more fearful of the things that could go wrong. I think I'm more like, yeah, go for it. You can, yeah, you'll be right. You're good. Just go.
Chad Reed and his wife Ellie grew up in Kurri Kurri, Australia, moved to Europe together at 19 years old, and then to the United States when they were 20. With 41 wins and 2 450 class championships going into the 2014 season, he is the most successful foreign supercross racer in history.
You know, him and his wife, they really came from nothing. They have good families, don't get me wrong, but they took a chance. You know, the bus pulled up, hey, let's go to Europe. I mean, Chad probably just started shaving. He just grabbed the girl and left. He chased a dream, you know, and I think the guy bets on himself. His competition in the past, you know, Carmichael, Wyndham, even now with Villapoto and Stewart, they've never made that gamble. They might have their investments, airplanes, properties, this and that, but to really bet on yourself, and I'm not talking about a table in Las Vegas, I'm talking betting the farm.
My dad was hard, more from an emotional point of view. He always told me I couldn't do things. My biggest thing growing up was always to prove Dad wrong. I look back and I wish that there was something else that pushed my buttons, because I think that kind of hurts your relationship with your dad, feeling like he never approved of anything that you ever did, and you always feel like you were always trying to do something to make your dad happy. I'd like to try to tackle pushing Tate's buttons a little differently.
Dad will come ride with you in a little bit. He's got to do his motos.
Reed is unlike any other current rider in that he owns his own race team. Chad started 22 Motorsports in 2011, won 2 races that year, and was Ryan Villapoto's closest competitor in 2012, until he tore his ACL in a crash in Dallas. The injury would require surgery and remain a problem for the following year.
His knee really put him back. When he'd ride, his knee would be sore, and then he'd think, you know what, if I take a little time off, it's just like a day or 2 away from being perfect, but then it's time to go riding again, and then it'd be sore again, just constantly the same thing.
Chad Reed's right there! Oh! He's down into Brayton! Oh! Reed goes down, he loses the front end!
I was never fit, never in shape, never healthy. Certainly I didn't love my bike, enjoyed riding the previous model better, and I just felt that we were very restricted.
On top of his physical struggles, the Honda factory often rejected the bike modifications Reed and his team hoped to make to the 2013 Honda throughout the year. Going into the 2014 Supercross season, Chad no longer wanted to work with Honda and was struggling to find a sponsor for his race team.
We were kind of up in the air. He had an offer to ride on a different team, and it would have been for a couple $1 million and everything paid for. They take care of everything. Don't worry about it. We got it kind of deal, factory ride. And we would have been out of a job.
He tried the Suzuki that he liked so much at one point. He rode a Yamaha, had a KTM that we were riding. Actually, I remember the day we took our KTM over to Timmy Ferry's, rode Timmy's Kawasaki. It was obvious to me watching him ride within the first half a lap that he had that comfortability that he was kind of missing.
Go, go, go!
Going into the 2014 season, Reed turned down the multi-million-dollar opportunity to race for a factory team and bought a Kawasaki from a dealership so that his mechanics would have no restrictions in making the modifications they wanted.
My team and my guys, we have an outside-the-box way of thinking, being under the same rules as the factory teams. It doesn't work for us. They are experienced guys that have been around and seen a lot, and they've got ideas that need to be used. You know, I don't pay them all that money just to sit there and change parts and plastics and graphics, you know, and listen to what somebody that we don't even know has to say.
Everything was new a few months ago, and I feel where we're at motorcycle-wise and where Chad's at physically-wise, we're ready to go race.
Here comes Reed. Reedy on that new Kawasaki. He's got the double deuce running up in third.
He doesn't have 41 wins for nothing. This guy's one of the best ever, and he's proving it once again when most people have written him off for this season.
Hey, we haven't done this in a long time. Getting third and he's not happy with it? He was furious, and I thought, oh man, something's wrong with the bike. That's why he dropped off, and it was just, no, it's me. I should have won that thing, so it's good to see that he's upset with a third, be upset with a second, and he's only happy with a win.
The 2014 Supercross season opener witnessed arguably the most talented field in the history of the sport, with all-time greats like James Stewart, Ryan Villapoto, and Ryan Dungey, and talented young riders like Ken Roczen and Justin Barcia. With minimal support from a factory, Reed, the second oldest rider on the racetrack, and his team of technicians started the season off in third.
It's not a bad result for a mom-pop outfit.
I don't know if I'm delusional, but I honestly believe I can still fight for race wins and championship. Like, I really do. I mean, I don't come out here and work my butt off to just be average. 31, I don't feel 31. I mean, feels like just yesterday that I was 16.
Yeah, him saying he's delusional about winning, I have to agree with him. You know, like after a year we had last year, and he's never had a huge injury like he had on his knee before, and him being 31 years old and going on 32, it just doesn't happen like that.
Chad Reed is definitely answering some questions right now. Watch Reed, he's tripling this. Yes, watch this.
Here comes Reed.
I'm telling you guys, I've seen Chad ride like this before. It's been a while. He has a point to prove.
This crowd will lose their minds if Chad Reed passes Stewart. The Aussie is number one.
Unbelievable. He has passed the best riders in the world to take control of this main event.
When you win on a factory bike at a factory level, instantly you get paid a big bonus. On our team, there is no factory. How well he's done in these last few races, he's probably gotten paid peanuts compared to any one of the other guys that have won a race. So it's passion for him. Right now, he's not concerned about that.
See where you've been and what you've done and how much you made in some teams over the years, and here I am paying for bikes and parts, and honestly couldn't be happier.
Chad Reed achieved his 42nd career win at Round 3 in Anaheim, pushing the 31-year-old to third place in the championship points race. As the series moves to Round 4 in Oakland, continuing his success is the only way to ensure that his company lives on.
51-0. Cheer him on. Here he comes.
The guy's been so successful and made tons of money, but a lot of people don't understand how much money it takes to run a program like this. If he doesn't do well, it's going to get more and more difficult to get money for the team, and that could shut the doors on the team in itself.
Jake Weimer is entering the second year of his current 2-year contract with Factory Kawasaki. Last year, Weimer missed a race due to pneumonia, missed 2 more races with broken ribs, did not finish on the podium in a single main event, and finished 11th in the Supercross series.
In 2014, if I have a similar year to the year I had in 2013, there's no way that I'll keep my current ride. It won't happen. I have to do better.
The disappointment of 2013 was emphasized by the fact that Jake had arguably the best program in the industry. He was preparing under the guidance of Alden Baker, the sport's most respected trainer. He was riding the same bike and working with the same team that Ryan Villopoto has used to win the last 3 Supercross championships. And he was training daily on Villopoto's tracks with Ryan in Florida.
I fought myself about that for a year and a half. I have the best trainer, I have the best program, I have the best tracks, but sometimes that just doesn't matter. Without confidence and having that tight support group, the rest of it's useless.
Jake was a second quicker than you.
Well, don't go just blowing my confidence now, because he always is faster than me.
I was just absolutely pathetic.
So I'm probably not qualified.
I got into this whole thing because I love dirt bikes and I love riding them. And as soon as it becomes every day's a grind, your results suck and nothing's happening, you get to a point where it's not fun at all. You don't want to ride. You don't even want to be at the races. That's not going to work. Like for me, the way 2013 went middle of the season, I mean, I was just thinking, maybe I just don't have what it takes anymore.
As a racer, you want to feel superior to your competition. Doing the same thing week in and week out with somebody that has been winning championships, that can be a hard thing. Because, yeah, you are always striving to go that pace, to go that speed. But if you're off a little bit, day in and day out, and then on the weekend, and then the next week, it can become mentally challenging, just getting beat by the same guy all the time.
In 2010, Weimer won the West Coast 250 Supercross Championship while living in California and working with trainer Randy Lawrence. 3 months before the 2014 Supercross season, Jake left Alden's program, moved to California, and rehired Lawrence.
When Jake came to me and said, look, I need to make a change, I have to respect that. I mean, as much as it hurts that I'm like, wow, I'm going to lose a guy that I've invested time in, that I feel that can do it, and we're not quite there, but we're working. And you go to the track the next week and he's got another guy helping him, and yeah, I mean, that's for sure a tough deal.
While preparing for a race on the West Coast, Villopoto will stay at his house in California. And because Ryan and Jake are on the same team, Alden, Ryan, Jake, and Randy will often be training alongside each other at the Kawasaki test track in Corona, California.
I take very seriously my responsibility when somebody comes to me to help them with their career. And yeah, Alden, he's definitely made a great name for himself in our industry and in our sport. Of course, you feel the pressure. If we do the work and set these small goals and start reaching them, then we're definitely going to have some success.
I had to make changes, get myself surrounded with people that are going to force me to get back to how I used to be. It's my most important year as far as where the rest of my career goes. The support that I get and money, sponsors, I mean, this is a big one.
As far as Jake's future at Cowie, it's do or die for him. He really has to step up this year or he will be replaced. And that's just the nature of this business.
You're stiff, you're clipping jumps, you're not entering the whoops with any sort of speed. You just got to loosen up, like let your bike go.
Jake Weimer is in a contract year in 2014 and will have to have the best season of his career in order to continue working with his current team, Factory Kawasaki.
Leading up to Anaheim 1, I felt Jake was in the best situation he could be in. Mentally, he was stronger. With his new trainer going back to Randy Lawrence, I think they have something more of a bond. I felt like he was going to have one of the best races of his career.
Oh, big crash! 3, 4, 5 riders going down. Weimer on the 12. He's down.
It doesn't matter whose fault it was, but it happened.
Can't make an excuse. You gotta just suck it up, because that guy, he's riding with a such and such, and his bones are hanging out of his leg, and he just got on the podium. And this guy says he broke his finger. It's tough.
Following a crash in his heat race at round 1 in Anaheim, Jake finished 10th in the main event. The most promising moment of Jake's season so far came when he won his heat race at round 2, holding off Justin Barcia for the top qualifying position.
Weimer with a huge boost and a shot of momentum for him.
Started off a little rough last weekend, so, looking to try and turn things around. We got a lot of racing to go.
Jake's results in the main event at Phoenix would not reflect the speed he showed earlier in the day. After a crash with Brock Tickle, he finished the race in 18th.
It's either pass or be passed, and Jake has a tendency to follow, and it cost him. 18th is not very good.
Going into round 4 in Oakland, Weimer is far off his goal, sitting in 11th in the championship point standings. Chad Reed is fresh off of a win a week ago in Anaheim, but both Weimer and Reed would be off the pace in practice, with lap times ranking them at 7th and 8th.
What's wrong? Is it noise still? You still hear a noise? I don't hear nothing. What the hell is he hearing?
Just pull it off and look at it. Just make sure. Working for him is a challenge because he's so critical. I want my bike to not feel one bump, and I want it to be fast, I want it to be smooth, and I want it to never break.
Honestly, the way we start the track is so clear. We chase the bike settings.
For the crappy track, so you don't get a chance to set it up for the race.
When people don't do a good job, if the track sucks, I say the track sucks. This Spacine thing that I whine, I just pull it and say it as it is.
We'll change a lot of things. Is he mixed up? Is he crazy? Is he this? Is it a pain in the you-know-what? Sure it is. But he puts his money where his mouth is, and it shows, because the lap times go down and the results come, and he can pull it all together, and I think that's the unique thing about the guy.
We're a pretty huge team for one guy. For Chad to be the sole provider, got to be a lot of pressure on him to perform for all the sponsors that we have, paying for him to go racing and paying all our salaries. It must be a huge burden on him.
Both Reed and Weimer were not expected to win or be contenders in the championship going into the season. But success is the only way to ensure that either rider will have a future in the sport.
Here we go from NorCal. Braden going for the whole shot. Villapoto sticks a nose in there, and Reed's running in fourth. There's Villapoto coming up inside of Freezy. Reed trying to come along with him. The man who won a week ago. The Australian.
After coming into the first turn in 7th, Reed quickly moved his way into 2nd on the first lap, but would not be able to match the pace of Ryan Villapoto and James Stewart.
Stewart picks up a second-place finish. Chad Reed, another night on the podium.
Good job, guys. What I was really happy about is seeing him charge the front right at the beginning. It was surprising for me to see him get right into 2nd place like that. He was the first guy to do that big quad jump out on the track in the main event, but then he couldn't do it every lap, and he said he was just screwing with his mind. He's disappointed he got 3rd, and we're a little disappointed he got 3rd, and I think that's not a bad thing.
Weimer started the race in 15th and could only work his way up to 9th. The result will do nothing to help his campaign to stay at factory Kawasaki.
Up to this point, one of the issues that we're dealing with is Jake's really worried about his career and where it's going, instead of focusing on an entrance into the whoops or how to execute a corner, the details of what you really need to be focused on, because you're worried about this big picture and you need to simplify it.
Jason Anderson has been in the middle of the championship chase, penalized 2 positions for passing under the red flag a week ago in Anaheim.
When I heard that I got docked and I saw the situation, I think it's kind of BS, just because there was plenty of other people that did the same thing I did and haven't got docked yet.
These guys are kids. To be able to take a young man and develop them and teach them the things that I was taught. And that's the thing about this sport. It's going to test you on all those levels, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. How you react to those and how you solve those, or how you define yourself as an individual.
Anderson does it again on the final lap.
To be able to be the underdog and go out and accomplish and build something, that's where your reward of it comes from.
At the start of the 2014 Supercross season, most did not expect Jason Anderson and the Rockstar KTM team to win 3 out of the first 4 250 races of the year. Most would not have picked 31-year-old Chad Reed to be sitting in second place in the Premier 450 Class Championship points race. And no one would have chosen Jeff Emig as a child to be a future sportscaster.
For me, when things really started to change from the stuttering part, it all came with the confidence that I started to build in myself by becoming a better racer and by becoming a champion. Are you going to accept the challenge? Have the work ethic? This is life. Do you want to be successful? Do you want to be a winner or not?
I'm a father, and I remember what it was like when my kid learned to ride, and it was pretty emotional. You know, you push Tate out there, and Chad's going around with him, and everybody saw it, and everybody was touched. 10 minutes later, he's on the starting line with Barsha and Stewart and Villapoto. I mean, how do you do that? In our sport, there's only so many icons left, and he's one of them. That's not opinion, it's fact. I mean, look at the record books. There's not many Chad Reeds left in our sport.
The power to inspire belongs to those who overcome. On March 30th, Supercross Behind the Dream returns with the Wagner family, Deegan family, and Ricky Carmichael's road to Supercross as we explore the path of the next generation of the sport.
Ready?
How does a kid become prepared at a young age for Supercross? I feel like there needs to be a system that brings kids up.
Probably some people are very short-sighted and don't understand why we developed the Road to Supercross format. But if you look long-term, I think it's going to pay dividends for the young guys coming up.
The hardest part about a career in Supercross is that they can't decide when they're an adult. They can't decide when they're in college. The decision has to come when they're still a child.